Welcome everybody, welcome to the podcast here with your host, me, Brandon, myself. Joining me today, we have a wonderful guest joining us here today. We've finally been able to catch up with Ray Penny with us here today. Welcome, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's good to see you.
No worries, brother. Good to finally catch up and finally get inside the studio.
Yeah, it's been a struggle. A lot of uncertainty going on, obviously, with the last few months and everything pushing through. And it's just good to be here and chatting with you today.
Bro, it's great to have you here with us. In for a good one, guys. But bro, just go ahead and give us a quick introduction of yourself. Just give us a quick background. You give us your name, age, where you're from, also favorite food, and then, bro, just tell us what you've been up to right now recently.
So my name's Ray Penny. I'm 25 years old. I'm born and bred in South Auckland. My ethnicity is Māori. What I've been up to the last few months, not a lot really. Obviously with everything that's gone on, but just trying to stay mentally sane and just making sure the family's safe. That's pretty much it. But excited to talk about I guess the experiences that I've had growing up and what it's brought to make me what I am today. So very excited.
Guys, I think Ray's kind of being a bit modest, right? He's done a lot of been through a lot of experiences, and I guess because you're a basketball coach, right? Also personal trainer, PT, also a mentor. Not only that, but you also represented New Zealand in a couple sports, or mainly basketball, correct? Just give us just a quick background of a background of your accolades and stuff, and what you have accomplished.
Well, very fortunate to be able to compete at the pinnacle level of two different sports. One of them obviously being basketball. From a young age, the basketball was put in my hands by my father. So a lot to talk about really in terms of what I've experienced. Got some international competition in there. Represented New Zealand at the Youth Olympics in 2014. That was in Nanjing, China. And then obviously the Breakers Academy for 3 years. So a lot of competitive challenges growing up and learning different disciplines and whatnot, and how to carry that over into different life skills. Obviously now I'm no longer playing at that level anymore. So opportunity doors obviously started closing at the age of 18. So it was about how do I take what I learned in basketball and purge it into a different outlet. And obviously now having 5 years of personal training experience, that just came down from wanting to continue that competitive drive in some sort of sport into something else. And fortunate to have two very strong parents that incentivize hard work and discipline. And I think if we're able to have role models at a very young age like that, we're able to transpire that over into other different life skills and whatnot.
It gives a sense of direction, eh?
Absolutely.
Especially having grounded parents, but also those two skills or principles, discipline and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I guess, being at a young age, bro, just talk to us about being able to accomplish so much at a young age, and your experience or emotions or through that, because I feel like a lot of us here in Aotearoa, especially who are trying to achieve sport, careers and stuff like that, right? They don't really have a lot of that, I guess, drive, or maybe they have the skill, or they don't really have, I guess, the discipline, or I guess because you probably have to be mentally strong for that, right?
Yep.
Just to be able to, compete at such a high level, and also to be able to, at a young age, with everything going on, trying to figure yourself out, right? Just trying to find that support.
Absolutely. I think growing up in a less fortunate community like South Auckland, it really highlighted the lack of opportunities that we tend to go after, and that's just because we don't have as many role models around us that we need to be able to have the motivation to do those things. It's not so much the lack of skill. In my honest opinion, I honestly think that South Auckland is has the highest amount of talent in this country. To be modest, and that's putting it lightly too. I don't think we have the resources and the support to be able to carry that over. But in terms of skill set, we have everything on the table. We're just not able to utilize it properly. And I think through my experience as a kid going from different high schools, there's just a different type of hunger on the schools on the North Shore, and that's not me trying to be stereotypical or anything. That's just from my experiences, and I think our behavioural habits was heavily derivative from our environment and also the peers that were surrounded around us. It's just the drive to be successful over that side of Auckland is just.
Do you feel like
different?
Bro, I love what you said. Especially about the hunger, right, on the other side. Like, do you feel like, let's say we do have the resources and the support here in South Auckland. Do you feel like that will still be able to be enough against like the other side of Auckland?
Absolutely. It's just an issue that's been ongoing. I think we still have a lot of work to do, but it's definitely improved in the last 10 years from what I've seen. So especially through social media, the level of outlet to different platforms has improved tremendously.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned that you growing up in South Auckland and being around different schools. You just mentioned you went to a couple of schools, high schools, right?
Yeah, so year 9 and 10 I started off at Aorere College. And then from there I went to Onehunga High School. Yep. So I spent about a year and a half there, and then went to Rosmini High School over on the North Shore. So as you can see, the change.
Because the
demographics.
Because they're like, if you think about it, they're all pretty basketball schools.
Absolutely.
Right, and then there's difference between Aorere and Onehunga, and then Onehunga and Rosmini.
Yeah, I just think that the level of accountability through the peers were different. We were just forced by our own peers. It wasn't by our elders or anything. We were just looking around us and looking at their motivation around us. And it just came down to the 1%ers and wanting to do the little things properly. And by the little things, I mean turning up to training on time, or even just turning up to training, period. I am now a part of basketball programs out in South Auckland now, and the problem still stands today. People turning up late, turning up in their pajamas even, or just not turning up at all. And it starts just from turning up. If you can turn up, that's the start. It's 100%. Done. And then all the learning just comes from there.
Right. So going back to, what year did you go to Onehunga?
2011 to the end of 2012.
Oh yeah. Because I was at Onehunga as well.
Yeah, I remember you.
Because I was like, bro, this guy, I know this guy. He played at Onehunga, so went to high school with all the boys that played there still. But yeah, that's mean, bro. It's mean. And then like the thing that stuck out for me that you said is like the little things, right? And I feel like a lot of us tend to take for granted the little things, especially in South Auckland. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And like, cause I love what you said, bro. Like, we have the talent, we have the skill, we have some of us, we do have that right mindset and maybe some support to a certain extent, but sometimes we fail to do those small little things, right? And that can jeopardize our career and also our future. Absolutely.
And I think the most uncomfortable thing with that is just being comfortable with repetition. And it's so tiring to do the same thing over and over and over again. We always want to know new things, but how are we going to be able to do new things if we can't do the old things properly? And, if we're able to build up a level of repetition, it's just going to make the bigger picture so much easier to find. That's pretty much it.
100%, bro. A lot of great skill and knowledge coming from Ray with us, guys. But it's just because going back, I can think of, and it's so true because you being in different types of environments, it's not like, it's actually a different kind of environment when you're going from South Auckland or going from Aorere and Onehunga and then going to Rosmini, you know what I mean? That type of environment change. And I feel like some of us, because there have been times when some of us are able to go to a different environment, but sometimes that environment can kind of, push us away. Because we're not used to it, you know what I mean? Like with the repetition and everything. Yeah, and that comes down to being uncomfortable with the little things. When you look at the bigger picture, we tend to look at that as pressure, and we tend to shy away from that. It's like we don't want to be seen in the spotlight. Whereas we should be, taking the opportunity by the horns and seeing where it goes. And I think that's another thing, is that we're afraid to, I guess, look like a tryout in front of our friends, especially out in South Auckland. Excuse me. Especially growing up in South Auckland, knowing that there's a fear of possibly being mocked by your peers for
going as hard as you can, and it's still an issue today. You know, you see examples of, oh look, he's trying to look cool and all that kind of stuff. Whereas like, is there a problem with trying to be successful? You know, what's wrong with trying to be the best that you can be at whatever it is you do? And I feel like the support around us with our peers can be a lot better with that, and that's a huge problem that we have in today's society still.
Well, going back to that, bro, because I totally agree with you on that point, right? Just the fact that no one wants to be that guy, right? No one wants to be that guy. No one wants to be that try-hard. No one wants to be the guy that outdoes everyone. And I guess my only question is, like, why do you think us and people in South Auckland, do that to our own people?
I honestly can't speak for everybody, but being on the receiving end on that type of stuff, it is definitely tough mentally. You just have to try and focus as much as you can on your goal at hand and your task at hand, because eventually, you're going to be able to pass those skill sets on to the younger generation, after you. And that's what's most important is, trying to catch these kids at a younger age so they don't have to go through this type of stuff
100, bro.
that we went through when we were their age.
Bro, awesome, bro. Love it. If we could just learn to be able to do those small things, bro, and I guess because I feel like sometimes we care about what other people think, and I feel like for me, like, that's probably a big thing. Is like, even though we do want to try our best to be successful, but when others see us being successful, they don't want us. I guess they want us to not be. I guess, have you ever heard that crab analogy? Right, like when you fish for crabs, usually people, they leave the bucket open.
Yeah.
When you leave the bucket open, people, like, they don't go out, and the reason why they don't go out is because when someone goes out, like, someone drags them down.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a big thing with us, especially in our community and our culture. Sometimes we don't like to see other people surpassing us. Absolutely. You know what I mean? But if we could change surpassing with them doing good in life, like, why not give our support and positivity to those people who are succeeding?
Absolutely. I don't think you can, you'll never be able to change everyone, but I think it's just, trying to focus on the people around you that, that do push you and give a damn about your success. I think if you try and focus more of your energy on that side of things, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
100, bro. I guess moving on to a couple of questions, bro. Being, obviously, yourself being a personal trainer or high performance coach and everything, right? Talk to us about that process and what made you want to become a coach in that aspect.
Well, I think, at the moment, I'm now the head coach of the basketball program at Macaulay High School.
Nice.
So, I guess it's me living the beginning all over again. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that I can, teach these kids, a typical skill set that they're able to carry over into different curriculum activities or even the academics. I think the hardest thing for me was gaining their trust, the trust of trying to implement, I guess you could say, what's the word? Just trying to implement a system where an identity of winning inside the gym is of winning, outside of life. Exactly. Yeah. So, and that was just, again, the little things, turning up to training on time, making sure that you're staying up with your academics. If I ever heard from any of the girls' teachers that they were underperforming in the class, I would pull them aside and say, you won't be performing on the court. And if we're able to give them that level of accountability with that, they're able to carry it over into their careers, into their job. Another example was, if you can't turn up to training on time, what makes you think you're going to turn up to work on time? And that's a bigger thing, because you need to work to be able to provide for your family.
That's like life skills, bro.
Absolutely.
Punctuality, bro.
Absolutely. And throughout the year, I was able to get across that message to the girls, and that's where I started to gain the respect and the trust from them. So that made it a lot easier. In terms of personal training, that just came from all the experiences that I learned as an athlete, and then obviously passing it on to other people others that needed help with their, just a healthier lifestyle and whatnot.
Bro, being a coach has so much impact in people's lives, bro. think about like you yourself being that role model and athlete. Like if you think about a lot of major big sport teams, coaches are so influential and they can have such a great impact on players. You know what I mean? So that's so awesome, bro. Like I can remember a couple of my coaches, whether it be rugby or basketball, like, and then just knowing that they have an influence not only on the court but off the court. That's so big, and I feel like you've probably had moments where where those players have come up to you and been, because you've earned their respect, stuff like that. They probably at a point come up to you and thank you for things that you've done, or maybe because there's some things sometimes we can go to our coach for some things, right, but not our parents or teachers or stuff like that. Like,
absolutely,
you know what I mean? So, it's such like people don't understand that being a coach and stuff, it really has a big impact on people's lives.
You're not just a coach, on the sporting field. You're a coach in life too, and whatever examples that you set for your team or the kids, whatever, they're gonna use that. And I think the most important thing is that there's a common denominator across whatever you do in life. The attention to detail and the level of commitment should always remain the same, whether it's on the sporting field, out there, in the classroom, or whatever it is that you do in life. It should always be the same.
100, bro. I like what you said. Talked about being everything you do on the court is gonna be what you do in life. You know what I mean? Like everything. Like if you show up to training and you show up late, you're gonna show up late at work. And that's something that I guess a lot of our young people in our community need to understand, especially when it comes to failures, right? Like speaking about setbacks or failures, that's something that we love to focus on here on the podcast.
For sure.
I guess what would be some failures, or I guess what would be one setback that you could think of that you're grateful for?
I would say coming to terms with that my basketball career probably wasn't going to be taken any further than it had been at the time. I was 18 years old, had just come back from China from the Olympics, and I was out of school and nothing was on the table in terms of scholarships or anything like that over in America. And that was the toughest thing, because if you're able, if you're spending half of your life dedicating yourself to
a sport,
to a certain craft, any craft that is,
yeah.
And for that just to come to an absolute stop, mentally that will, tailspin. And I did go through some things for a couple of months with that. Mostly it was thinking that my parents were disappointed in me, because of all the time and dedication that they gave to me. Picking me up, taking me to training at 5:30 in the morning. I felt like I failed them, and that was really hard as a young teenager. Not only to come to terms with that your love of basketball had come to an end, or playing the game, should I say, but also thinking that you disappointed your parents. Obviously, we had that chat, and that was actually the complete opposite. It was just a reminder of that the journey that I experienced, they experienced that with me too, and it was just hard. It was really hard. But then, obviously, as my dad said, you can't keep crying forever. You have to figure out what you're going to do next, and that's where bodybuilding and training came in for me. How was I able to take a certain discipline and transfer that over into something else? And I would say the transition was actually quite easy. It was actually quite easy.
Gave you something to take pursue your passions and stuff.
It carried on that competitive drive, yeah.
Because I remember our podcast before with Marlon. He talked a lot, about you and also your influence on him and his pursuit on that career, on that line of his career, because he was kind of going through the same things with league and everything, coming back and transitioning that energy, focusing on that point. I guess that's something that a lot of young athletes here in Aotearoa, because there's so much when it comes to rugby and stuff, or whatever sport it may be, just being able to transition from a sport, into, or your passions into something else, to a positive nature, because there's a lot of times where we don't make that cut. Whether it be league or under 18 Warriors, or whether it be Oakland Blues, or whatever it may be. we kind of struggle to find that sense of, I guess, solace and peace
Yep.
when and transitioning the energy to something else.
Yeah.
I guess what would be some piece of advice you could give to those people, because you obviously being in that and going through that,
Yep.
right? That could help other people here in Aotearoa.
If I'm being honest, I still haven't gotten over it. But I look at that as a positive for me, because it continues that drive to chase that never-ending plethora of success.
Yeah.
I guess the piece of advice that I would give to others is to focus on all the good things that you were able to achieve in that, and what can you extract from that to put into something else. I mean, you can't say that you only just love rugby. So you might love something else. It might be gaming. It might be anything. So see what you can extract from whatever you learned, through that time and experience of whatever sport it is you played, and see if you can put it into something else. Just give it a try, because that's all you can ask. Just give it a try. You're not going to achieve anything by sitting there and dwelling on, because it's definitely not a failure. It's just a roadblock. That's all it is. It's not a failure.
100%, bro. It's just, and we gotta understand that these roadblocks are temporarily, and we gotta, because I guess only us, we're the only ones that can get through our own roadblocks.
Absolutely.
It's just, are we willing to do it?
Sure.
Going off on that, bro. We kind of touched a little bit about before about our community and somewhat about the struggles. But I guess going back, what would you say is society's biggest flaw and greatest strength?
I think the last few months, especially being in lockdown, has heavily highlighted one of the issues that we have, and that's obviously mental health. I feel like a lot of us don't talk about it. We've all gone through something in our lives, and I can speak, for men as well. Yes, it's okay to cry. Yes, it's okay to express our emotions, and yes, it's okay to ask for help. Us men, we tend to bottle up our emotions and hide
100%, bro.
And it can be looked at as weak if you do express your emotions, but it's not. I think if we understand now that the world has now evolved, especially being in a time where there's advanced technology and social media, and there's definitely outlets that we can reach out to and ask for help.
Yo, bro, that's mean. I guess that's something that has been a big issue, right? Just mental awareness or mental health, and I guess it's kind of relatively, I wouldn't say new in society, but I guess it's relatively new in our communities, especially being Pacific Islander or or Māori or Pacifica. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Do you think like it's an issue and within culture when it comes to mental healthness or awareness, or do you think it's just something that we're not really aware of or know how to communicate?
I think we just don't acknowledge it enough. I can't speak for all cultures. But in my culture, especially in the older generation, it was much so swept under the carpet.
100.
With mental health, and we couldn't be seen as weak. Especially with the dad's generation and granddads and so on, so forth. They were always looked at as strong men and never showed signs of weakness. And as it was passed down, it became hard to be able to deal with that type of stuff because we felt like we couldn't talk about it. But I feel times are getting better now, and we're able to talk about things. So it's definitely heading in the right direction.
Yeah, that's mean, because I feel like personally for me, like just being able to, or from the people or families I have been able to talk to about mental health and awareness, I guess it's just because we're as men, we're meant to take it on the chin, or sweep it under the rug, or like carry on, and I guess we do have this thing in our minds where we're less of a man, if we ourselves are able to express those little feelings of vulnerability and weakness. I guess it's just trying to teach our generation now to be able to communicate those feelings and emotions in a positive way, because sometimes we can tend to turn it into a negative way.
Absolutely.
And it really hurts ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. And as an aside, I have a good friend of mine, Samuel Sefa. He's doing a 48-hour walk challenge on the 30th of December.
I saw that, bro. I saw that.
So 48-hour walk challenge. So if you can head over to a social media page, Samoan Sefa, and show him some support, because he's trying to do something great for our community, and he heavily believes in living a healthier lifestyle and taking care of mental health and mental awareness and all that type of stuff. So if you could kindly head over to Samoan Sefa on Facebook and Instagram and showing some love and support, because he's doing it for a great cause.
Mean, bro. Shout out to him. I guess moving on to one of our last questions. What does authentic mean to you?
When I think of authentic, I think of it as being as transparent as possible, and just getting to know the real you. That's pretty much all I can say about being authentic. Yeah.
100%, bro.
Yeah. What do you think?
Bro, I honestly think it's just being genuine and being your honest, true self. Because I feel like some of us in this life, we tend to go in life not recognizing or understanding who we are. You know what I mean? Because we're going to struggle and find out who we are. And when we do find out who we are, it's like we've gone through so many things, and we're not able to actually express the kind of individual we can be.
It's so easy to now embody, especially celebrities nowadays.
Bro.
And we feel somewhat disappointed because we can't match what they do. And that just boils down to being in the era of social media. Unfortunately. And fortunately, to be honest.
Bro, for real. And I guess it's just a learning curve for all of us,
Absolutely.
Because I feel like, especially if there's one thing that 2021 can teach us, bro, it's just like just being able to understand and grow your mind mentally strong, and being able to find yourself, because we've had so much time and I guess just trying to learn those ways to create a positive vibe with ourselves.
Yeah, it's just about being present in the moment and not taking anything for granted. I think these last 2 years has definitely made us look at that and realize what we've taken for granted, because a lot of things have been minimized and taken away from us over the last 2 years. So we're still crawling our way up.
We still are. We're getting there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
One step at a time.
One step at a time.